The Anton Savage Show on Today FM.
Now, there's a new diet book just out which looks at the food we eat and how eating a certain kind of food, Sirt Food, can result in a 7-pound weight loss over 7 days. And the authors, Aidan, Goggins and Glen, Matten, are with us now. Good morning, lads.
Good morning.
Hey, great
Now,
to be here.
first of all, the first thing people are going to ask when you get into this is, what are your qualifications? So give us a quick synopsis of your background, lads.
So we both have master's degrees in nutritional medicine, and Aidan is also a pharmacist.
So that's Glen. Glen is the English one and Aidan is the Irish one, just to get that straight at the start. So what are, at the start, we're talking about Sirt Foods, but what are sirtuins?
So these are very powerful genes in the body that we all have, and they regulate really critical things like our ability to burn fat, build muscle, and stay really healthy and free of diseases. And we know that the foods we're talking about today, these Sirt foods, help to switch on these powerful genes in the body with all the benefits that we can talk about today for fat burning and wellness.
It must be quite difficult, though, to isolate the effect of nutrients on a particular gene, because nutrients interact with other nutrients, other genes. So how do you do that sort of thing?
Yeah, so, I mean, the Sirt Food diet is a diet about eating foods in the right combinations, and when you eat them as laid out in the plan, combined together through the juices and the meals, that's when we see all the benefits, and that's when we see the participants who followed, they lost 7 pounds in 7 days. Our interest has always been in wellness, and what brought us into this was examining the different cultures around the world, and how come they're so much healthier than us. And what we looked at was, we found out that they were eating far more Sirt foods than us, 10 times as much. So we asked ourselves the question, why are these people so healthy? You know, what is it that these foods are doing? And what we found is that when you eat them in combination together, they switch on a recycling process in the body. This recycling process tells our body cells to get rid of all the clutter, all the debris, and this is what makes us feel ill. This is what causes fatigue, and this is what essentially causes us to age. So when you follow that Sirt Food diet, it brings back this health, this vitality, with also the added bonus of staggering weight loss.
So what is the initial... The Sirt Food diet refers to the 7 days, right? The 7 pound 7 day loss, and then you kind of top up with Sirt Foods throughout, however regularly you need to. So tell me what the 7 day plan is, first of all.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. There's 2 stages. One is that kind of really amazing kind of weight loss stage, but this is about health and wellness in the long term as well. So the first 7 days involves, the first 3 days you have 3 of these green juices, which are the ones we've brought in for you to try, and then a full meal based on all these delicious Sirt foods. So we're really packing in very high levels of these plant compounds from day 1, and then days 4 to 7 of that 7 day plan are 2 of these green juices and 2 full meals. Again, you know, the theme there is packing in the highest level of these nutrients to really switch on the body's fat burning.
But I know people are going to ask, well, hold on, if you lose 7 pounds in 7 days, surely that's just water weight, and would that not work by just reducing calories? Because you're doing... It's 1,000 calories for the first 3 days and 1,500 calories for the second 4 days.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the thing we would say is that we're the biggest skeptics of fad diets out there, you know, so we've come at this very much from a health angle, and when we put this together, we were really quite amazed at the results people were getting. And there is a mild calorie reduction, but the amount of weight people were losing was way above what we would expect just from that slight reduction in calories. So, you know, we were very sort of surprised when the data started coming through and we tested this. The weight loss was over and above what we expected. And there was one really striking factor that really kind of piqued our interest, which was the type of weight loss people were losing. They weren't losing any muscle. In fact, some people were gaining muscle over those 7 days. So we were checking people's body composition before and after the 7 days.
If you don't exercise at all and do the Sirt Food diet for 7 days, surely you can't build muscle.
What we found was, what we actually told people to do was to reduce their exercise. Not stop their exercise, but keep it moderate. So we never say don't exercise. You should follow the guideline, which is 30 minutes a day of moderate exercise up to 5 days a week. But we did find some key findings. What we find is that Sirt Foods really target weight loss around the abdominal region. So those with that central adiposity, which we know is linked to diseases, that's where you see the biggest benefits. As Glen mentioned, this increase in muscle function, which is why we have so many athletes now following the Sirt Food regime. We also find, which is a big thing for dieting, people just don't feel hungry. which is massive. They really help regulate appetite, and that has a long-lasting effect in terms of regulating our appetite for the future, that we eat what we need and not in excess.
So we've seen in the past, we've seen people talk about fasting, and the effects of fasting are well recognised. This is a form of fasting because you're reducing your calories so significantly, but the Sirt Foods that you're adding into the diet are switching off that idea that your muscles are going to atrophy, essentially.
Yeah. So you might think about these Sirt Foods as having very similar effects to fasting. So researchers in this field refer to them as calorie restriction mimetics. They mimic the effects of calorie restriction. But the thing we found is we can do that by including foods in the diet, and we're not sacrificing muscle in that process.
So what sort of Sirt Foods? By the way, it's S-I-R-T, in case people are wondering, is it C-E-R-T or is it what? We've got one text on that. Sure Food, what is it? S-I-R-T. What sort of foods are we talking about?
So, I mean, the beauty is these are everyday foods. So, you know, in the book we list the top 20, but that includes things like kale, rocket, walnuts, strawberries, extra virgin olive oil, cocoa or dark chocolate, and even coffee, which people think, you know, is not something that's good for them, but we would actually have a very different message about coffee. We've brought in some food as example. So we've got a strawberry buckwheat tabbouleh salad there. Okay. So, you know, I think our message is... Please do. This is a diet of inclusion. So we've got a salad there which has got buckwheat in, cooked in turmeric. We've got rocket in there, red onions, capers, all Sirt Foods, all foods that have this kind of very beneficial effect. And I think our message is, look, this is not about exclusion. No food is abandoned. This is about what you put on your plate. It's a diet of inclusion.
Are you counting calories in this?
After the 7 days, we're not interested in calories. So, you know, so our message is not about cutting out. It's not about counting calories. It's not about cutting out whole food groups. This is about, you know, celebrating food, and it's about what you put on your plate, not what you take off.
I mean, that food that you see there, the buckwheat tabbouleh, them amazing Sirt Food energy bites, they're like the healthiest snack you can ever eat. The green juice, that whole salad right there, the reason we brought that is that's the exact meal that boxer David Hay will be eating on Saturday before his comeback fight. 3.5 years ago.
You better hope he wins.
3.5 years ago was the last time he fought. He was told by doctors, you know, he would never fight again. He's embraced the Sirt Food diet. He's been a massive fan and advocate of it. And as he said just last week in his interviews, he's 35 years of age and he felt the best he ever has in his life. And that's the kind of people that are seeing the benefits, and that's the results that we're looking for. It's healthy weight through feeling great and improving your life.
This is a text. Hi Neil, I have IBS. Has the diet any effect on the gut? That's from Deirdre.
It's not something we're specifically concentrated on. We would expect this diet to be one that's, you know, suitable for most people. But I think, you know, try it and see.
1,000 calories a day is a dramatic reduction for the average male. Of course you would lose weight, as one texter. The point you make is that it's a type of weight that you lose.
It's a type of weight loss, and the weight loss is way beyond what we would expect purely from the calories.
Now the science man in me, many years ago I did some I did a degree, in a scientific degree of type. There's a couple of questions I have for you. First of all, your own trial, 40 people. What would you say to people who said that that's not that many people for a trial of this nature? Are you looking into doing more trials?
Yeah, but
because that's what the 7 pounds loss is about.
In terms of nutrition intervention, you got to realise this is a trial where every single person was fully controlled, where every single meal was prepared and delivered to them, where we knew exactly every morsel of food they ate. That doesn't actually exist in nutrition research. In terms of the big, massive nutrition trials, what usually happens is if you give them a piece of paper and say, write back for me what you ate for the last week, the last month, the last year. Very inaccurate. This in terms of intervention nutrition research is actually kind of leading the way.
You did it in a gym, and the gym kitchen made sure that they ate specific things that you told them.
Everything was controlled every step of the way, from the body measurements beforehand and afterwards to every meal that was delivered over those 7 days. So actually that's quite ambitious and very different to other diet books you'll find that make claims based on much looser evidence than that. That's actually a pretty ambitious way to try and test out whether our theory worked. And in fairness, there's a lot of science backing what we're doing. So within the book we reference well over 100 research papers, and really that trial was just the expression of all of that interest.
Don't forget, this was never a weight loss trial. This was always a diet for people to feel great, and it was only when the results came in that we said, what's going on here? And we were skeptical, way more skeptical than anyone else out there. So we went to the kitchen and said, we need to check all these meals we're preparing. We went to the guys who were doing the body composition and got them changed. We got everything switched around, independently tested, and the results kept coming in. And the thing was, they were consistent consistent every single time.
And all the studies that you refer to in the book, they're at the back of the book. There's 119 scientific studies about the influence of Sirt and sirtuins, as we call them earlier on, this family of genes that are the master controllers of lots of functions in the body. Are they on humans or are they on mice?
Yeah,
can they be extrapolated to humans?
It's a mixed research. It's a really new area of research and we need a lot more into it. But what we really know at the moment is the pharmaceutical industry has invested around €1 billion to date in investigating sirtuins as the future of healthy aging. And our message is, why are we waiting for Big Pharma to come out with this drug when we know that they're using foods to isolate them, when we can get the same benefits through a healthy diet? We know all the healthiest cultures in the world. The reason for these benefits in Japan, in the traditional Mediterranean, is 100% down to their Sirt food intake.
You can categorically
all the
state
studies,
that,
so
yeah.
the biggest study of the last year in nutrition, the PrediMed study, was 100% focused on adding in Sirt food specifically.
I am breastfeeding. Can I follow this diet?
So we don't recommend the actual 7-day diet in pregnancy or breastfeeding, but many of those foods are very healthy foods which we would encourage in the diet, as part of a kind of balanced diet for breastfeeding. But no, that's not a diet designed, the initial weight loss phase is not designed for pregnancy or breastfeeding. Yeah,
there is a section in the book with all these questions pretty much answered it. I'm obese, is the Sirt food diet right for me? I've reached my target weight and don't want to lose any more, do I stop eating Sirt foods? And the suggestion is that depending on how your body works, you could top up every 3 months, you could top every 6 months, every year.
Yeah, exactly. I think our message is, this is, yes, there's a lovely kind of quick win weight loss at the start, but this is a diet for life. We don't want people to think this is just some kind of quick fix fad diet. It's about long-term benefits which go way beyond weight, go way beyond body composition. This is about keeping people healthy, disease-free, and living kind of long, healthy, full lives.
Well, my thanks to Aidan, Goggins and Glen Matten. They are the authors of the Sirt food diet. It's out now. It's lose 7 pounds in 7 days. And can I just say, one, I'm going to be looking out to see how David Hay does in a couple of days. And there's lots of athletes actually mentioned in the book, and they give you testimonies. And two, the food you brought in is really nice as well. So yeah, that's maybe another reason to go for it. Thanks, lads.
The Anton Savage Show on Today FM.